Welcome back to Apex Ascend. My name is Rodney LaBruce. I am your host. This is where we teach lions how to rise up and roar. In a day and time where we know that we all need to do what we have to do to take care of our families, our friends, our loved ones. But also, let's not forget those that cannot speak up for themselves. We have to develop that roar so that we could show the world that we're here and we're here to help. Let me begin today by reminding you back in 1963 when Martin Luther King was in a jail, he wrote a letter. In the letter, he stated that injustice anywhere was a threat to justice everywhere. Now, I've kind of taken that statement and kind of flipped it and repurposed it. So for today's purposes, my statement is similar, but it's different. It says that poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. Now, it's not just a slogan. It's a reality that affects our neighborhoods, affects our economy. And to be honest, it affects our very future, not only in this nation, but the world around us. We often talk when it comes to poverty about poverty as if it's something that's isolated. It's only going to impact a handful of people way over there, or it only applies to people in a specific zip code or in a very far away and distant country. But the truth is that poverty ripples outward, it reaches into every corner of society. It touches our schools, it touches hospitals, it touches our workforce, and honestly, it even touches our very democracy. So, in this episode, I wanted to kind of take a closer look at that and break it down so that we all could see that it's not just us against them, it's us for us all. So, poverty drags down the entire economy. So, when families struggle, businesses lose customers, local stores close, tax bases even shrink. And all of that impacts public services. So at the end of the day, when families struggle, public services suffer as well. And what does this do? It weakens our infrastructure, it slows down innovation, and it leaves everyone with fewer opportunities. Now, think of it this way: when a child grows up without access to quality education, that's a future worker, that's a future entrepreneur, or even a future taxpayer whose potential is just cut short. Now, multiply that by not hundreds, but not thousands, but even millions. And you'll see how poverty reduces our entire country's productivity for the long term. Now, here in District 30, I've met small business owners who tell me that their customer base would grow dramatically if their neighbors weren't living paycheck to paycheck. So, prosperity is not just a matter of individual wealth, it's a collective ecosystem. Now, if you've ever been to, well, you probably haven't, Amazon forest or Florida uh, Everglades, you see these complex ecosystems where you introduce or take away one animal and it changes everything. It impacts and affects the whole system. So, this is similar to how poverty acts. If you look at all of the people in I'd say low middle income classifications, these are the people that drive our very economy. These are the ones that buy the shoes, buy the food, they purchase the shirts, the latest fads, the clothing. These are the ones that are going into the store making purchases. and allows that store owner to make hires, to pay taxes. So when you take away that revenue from the ecosystem of our economy, then you have no revenue to drive everything else. So when we look at poverty and we say that it's a problem that only impacts or affects a certain demographic or a certain zip code, then we're looking at it all wrong. Because no matter where you are, you need local retail providers. You need small businesses. And the people who are living paycheck to paycheck, those are the very ones that are fueling the entire economy. Now, poverty also fuels crime and incarceration. So I don't care who you are, desperation breeds vulnerability. I was reading a story today about a basketball player. I can't remember the guy's name. And when he was young and in school, he knew that his mom went to work 3 jobs every day. And one night, his brother had done something, and this particular basketball player didn't like it. And he tried to call his mom to tell his mom what his sibling has done. So he gets on the phone and to his mom's job, and a man answers and says that she can't come to the phone. She'll be back in 2 to 5 minutes. So he sets the phone down. It didn't quite sit right with him. He couldn't understand what was going on, but he kind of put it on the back burner for a few years. A few years later, he starts making money, and you know how some young guys do. They go out and spend and party. And this is what he did. He went to a local stripping establishment, let's just say. And he was talking to a stripper there, and he wanted to buy the stripper a drink. And the stripper looked at him and said, that'll be fine, but I'll be back in about 2 to 5 minutes. So it was at that point he realized and put everything together, pieced all these things together, and realized that, you know what? That job that his mom was working in the wee hours of the morning, turns out she was working at one of these locations. Now, his mom said that she was a bouncer there, but what I'm trying to say is that working 2, 3 jobs, parents often do what they have to do to provide for their children. Now, when it comes to crime, I'm not going to say that doing crime is okay, but I am going to say when you're facing your baby and you know your baby is crying because your baby is hungry or your baby doesn't have pampers and you have an immediate need right now, and I don't know, the churches can't help you, or you've been turned away from whoever, you are vulnerable at that time and you are desperate. So when neighborhoods and when citizens of neighborhoods lack opportunity, crime does often rise. And entire communities get caught in a cycle of over policing and over incarcerating these people. Because even when you look at the crime statistics, and yeah, you can say that don't do the crime if you can't do the time. But when you look at the statistics, there are those in certain areas doing the same exact things that don't get the same time. There's an inequality in how we view these crimes, even after they're done. But all in all, at the end of the day, taxpayers foot the bill for prisons, for emergency responses, when there should be education and job creation. I saw firsthand at a local institution, a local nonprofit, where there were formerly incarcerated men and women coming together to re-enter society. And they told me how childhood poverty put them on a path that they didn't choose. But one man said, I wasn't born a criminal. I was born poor. And that line kind of stayed with me. We're not born criminals, but we can be born into poverty. Poverty also threatens our public health. And I don't care what zip code you live in, diseases don't care about your income. Poor access to health care, nutrition, safe housing, all of that spreads illnesses faster and raises healthcare costs for us all. There's stress and there's trauma that's rooted in poverty. That also drives mental health issues, addiction, chronic disease. I heard a story or read about a story about this young lady who grew up in a single mom household. Single mom gets a boyfriend. Boyfriend rapes the young girl. Young girl is traumatized. She grows up an addict. She goes out and does what she needs to do in order to make money to support her addiction, and she gets further abused, and her body begins to break down. Her ankles, her knees, her hands, she is hurt. Her body is hurt, and the pain requires health care that she cannot afford. Now, did this all start because of laziness? No. She, growing up, was had to experience a traumatic episode that led to addictions, led to these later things in life. Now, the end of her story, she ended up pregnant with an abusive boyfriend herself. Her boyfriend had a felon. The landlord found out that she was allowing her felon boyfriend to stay with her and kicked them all out, including the baby. So now this mentally troubled young lady in pain, suffering from addiction, is now homeless, all because of something that started a long, long time ago. Communities with high poverty have higher infection rates, higher death rates, and slower recoveries. And yet, the cost of these disparities were borne by the entire health system and thus the entire economy as well. So we're all paying for it. I don't care what zip code you might live in. But when you look at poverty, especially in the last few days, last few months, you see that the same things that impact poverty is weakening our very democracy, our very institution that we hold dear. When large groups of people are locked out of opportunity, the trust in government and institutions fade away. There's lower voter turnout, there's political polarization, and there's a rise of extremism, and that covers both the left and the right. Now, I said so many times that one of the problems we have uh, in government is people look at politicians and say, well, I'm not going to vote, or I'm not going to go out and give this person my vote because they're not going to do anything for me. As a matter of fact, I was watching a video a few days ago about this young black guy who was talking to Roland Martin on a podcast, and the young black guy said that you old heads or you old folks think that voting matters when it doesn't. We got to get out there and do things ourselves. That's why I'm speaking for the young guy. I think he was 21 years old. This is why I went out and started this school. I went out and did this, and we in the community are doing things for ourselves because we cannot depend on the government. Now, if you've listened to me long enough, you know that to a certain degree, I understand that. As a matter of fact, in District 30, I want District 30 to be self-reliant. I want it to be able to take care of itself and not so dependent on the government. But at the same time, I do understand that it's not sustainable for people in the district to do everything themselves. It's not sustainable. If I work 40 hours a week and when Friday comes and my paycheck is due, I'm going to look for that employer to pay me for 40 hours. Now, if that employer doesn't, if he fails with his responsibilities, I'm not just going to go out and create another job to take care of my needs. I'm going to make that guy pay me what I'm earned or what I've earned. And that's what we have to do. While we go out and we do these things to supplement until we get in a better condition, we have to press the issue to make sure the government is upholding their responsibilities. So when people feel unseen, and I understand it, when they feel unheard, and I understand that, they disengage. They remove themselves from the political discourse. But we have to re-engage because I guarantee you that if people who are living at or below poverty right now, if they all go out to vote, things will change overnight. Promise you. If people who are living in the roughest parts of the city, if they turn out to vote in mass numbers like they could, our democracy, our government, where things are headed, it would change overnight. So let me take a minute to encourage all of my dear friends and listeners. Don't remove yourself from the discussion. Don't take yourself out of the game. Let's put everybody else in it. Now, all of these things matter, but the biggest threat of all, when we look at poverty being a threat to prosperity, the biggest threat is what happens when poverty is passed down to the next generation. There is a devastating impact that poverty has on the children. Think about a child growing up in a in a high poverty area. Now, maybe their family moves every few months, or maybe their school can't retain qualified teachers, or I don't know, maybe the playground doesn't down the street is unsafe. Could be that they live with constant noise, stress, or even hunger, as so many children do. Compare that to a child who grows up in a safe, stable, low poverty community that has strong schools and healthy food every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, we're not talking about two different species of kids. We're talking about two different environments. And the evidence is clear that environment does matter. It does matter. I want to tell you about a study that was done back 2 years ago in Montgomery County, Maryland, where families in public housing were randomly assigned to homes in different neighborhoods. Some children attended high poverty schools, others attended low poverty schools. Now, over time, the study showed that the kids in low poverty schools outperformed their peers in reading and in math, even though the high poverty schools got extra funding. So what happened was in the high poverty areas, they decided to throw money at the problem to see how the children responded. They got the new laptops, they got the new books, they got all the new stuff. They had the good teachers, they had the better looking schools than it used to be in these high poverty areas. But they found that even after they did all of that, Kids that were simply moved or went to the low poverty schools still outperformed them. So it wasn't just about money or new textbooks. It was about the surrounding environment. It was the stable housing. It was the safer streets, the better peer groups. And not only that, it was the consistent expectations. Because if you're going to school in a poverty stricken area, there's not high expectations for you. But when you go to a better schools, there's more expected of you. That helps. And this isn't just one study, there are other studies as well. Moving to Opportunity is another national experiment. It showed that children who moved to lower poverty neighborhoods before they reached age 13 grew up to have higher incomes, higher college attendance, better health outcomes. So these children are not dumb. They're not stupid. They're not um, unmotivated. We just have to do better about placing them in the right or better environments. We can take all and spend all the time in the world talking about how we despise people who live in poverty, how everything and everyone who lives in poverty, how whatever happened to them is their fault. We can do all that. The adults, you can make the discussion that you know what an adult living in poverty is it's all their fault. We don't have to do anything for them. Whatever you can make that discussion. But my thing is, 1 in 6 children live in poverty. These are 1 in 6 children that struggle with finding enough to eat. That struggles with finding a safe and stable home. Those are the ones that we got to make sure that we reach. Those are the ones that are going to be building the next generation. So, what our future ends up being will be determined by how we treat today's children who are living in poverty. So, the evidence here should forever change how we talk about poverty. We're not just talking about adults who make bad choices. We're talking about children growing up under conditions that simply limit their potential, all before they even have a chance to make any choices. Now, if poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere, then childhood poverty is the few. It's the thing that's going to set off long term consequences, make lower earnings explode, higher incarcerations explode, wealth disparities, weaker democracy, all of that stuff. But there is hope, there is good news because we know what works, including mixed income levels in housing policies, guaranteed income pilots for families works, stable child care and early education programs, they work. These are things that have been proven in particular regions around the country. Proves that when we invest early, we're not just helping the children, we're protecting all of our prosperity. In Stockton, California, there was a guaranteed income pilot. It gave struggling families just $500 a month. And within a year, those recipients were healthier, they were less stressed, and they were more likely to find full time work. And they were more stable at the end of the year. Now, just a small amount, $500, that's not very much, a small amount a month can create an environment that helps these people and our people do better and be better. And that's what happens when you reduce the constant stress of poverty. When you do that, people are going to rise. Now, I know some people say that ending poverty is impossible, and I've never believed that. I've always said that it takes one thing to get it done, and that's commitment. But the truth is, it takes two things: it takes commitment and it takes strategy. And I have both. The strategy is the United Advocacy and Leadership Coalition, the UALC. Through the UALC, we identify, we define, and we solve problems that create the conditions for poverty. Now, we don't just talk about issues, we build upon the solutions that we find. And we do that by pushing action through legislation, litigation, and grassroots education. We want to educate our citizens to show that grassroots support can mobilize people into action. So that's our strategy: identify, define, and solve problems. Don't just talk about the issues, but build the solutions through litigation, legislation, and education. And from there, we're not done. We are creating a district-wide community credit union. And this credit union, starting in District 30, is going to serve as the hub for our social programs. It's going to be a place for financial literacy. There's going to be a place for small business support, community reinvestment. It's where all of this stuff comes together. It's not just theory. It's a model that we're building right here in District 30 to show the nation what's possible. Here in District 30, we have our own set of issues we want to address. Not every district is the same. District 30 may have issues District 25 may not want to focus on, but they have others. But the community credit unions and through the UALC, every district will be customized or have a customized solution to focus on eliminating poverty in their district. But it all starts with the proof of concept right here in our very own. Commitment, strategy, and action. That's how we break the cycle of poverty, y'all. Not just today, but for generations to come. So here's my little call to you, my listeners. I thank you. Don't let anyone tell you poverty is inevitable. Don't let anybody tell you that poverty is somebody else's problem. It's a choice our society makes every day, and it impacts us all. But that choice we have to make can be done differently. If you're listening and you grew up in poverty, know this: your environment didn't define your worth. And if you're listening from a place of privilege, know this: you have power to change the system. Let us all get together and advocate for policies that integrate housing, support early childhood education, stabilize these families that have these children that need hope for better futures. I'd love to hear your thoughts, how you've been impacted or seen someone who's been impacted by poverty. I'd love to see what your thoughts are on children who have to live through poverty in their own community. So reach out to me. You can email me at rodney@labruceforcongress.com or join the conversation online with LaBruce for Congress hashtag. This episode, parts of it, has been paid for by the Rodney LaBruce for Congress campaign. Join us in the fight, y'all. because it's going to take you, me, and everybody else to get it done. Thank you for joining me on Apex Ascend. All together now, we're rising and we're roaring. Not only are we rising and roaring, but we're rewriting the future as well. Until next time, I'll holler. Hey everybody, this is Rodney LaBruce. I am the host of Apex Ascend. That's the podcast that everybody's listening to, or at least they should. I wanted to just jump on and invite you to take the next step. Reach out to us and join the Unified Advocacy and Leadership Coalition. That's the UALC. Right now, we're building a movement that values truth, humility, and real solutions over all that viral noise that you hear and that's causing all of the outrage. Because at UALC, we work together to fight misinformation. We look to elevate those overlooked voices. And we also develop leadership rooted in empathy and evidence and not ego. So right now, while you have a moment, go ahead and go to LaBruceForCongress.org. That is LaBruceForCongress.org. Look for the tab that says UALC. Click it, read about it, and reach out to us. Whether you are a lifelong learner, a critical thinker, or just someone tired of all the noise, we want to hear from you because we want you to join the conversation. That's all I have today. Thanks again for joining me on Apex Ascend. If any episode moves you enough to make you think, go ahead and share it and reach out to us and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.